Good afternoon, Victor.
Good afternoon.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Yeah, introduce yourself to the people. Someone who's hearing the name Victor.
Yes, okay, so my name is Victor Agaba. I just finished an A-level equivalent course in Swaziland. It's called the International Bachelorette. So I finished that last year, November 2020. So I'll be joining university in the US this year around August, September. And I recently published a book. I published it last month in March, late March. It's called Another Way to Look at It. Yeah, I think.
Swaziland. How was Swaziland?
Swaziland was, so in Swaziland I was in this school called Waterwood. It's part of this, there's a group of 18 schools around the world, all over the world that seek to unify cultures, that promote this, cultural intersectionality, nationalities, race and all that. It's called the United World Colleges. So Waterford is one of them. They call it the United World College of Southern Africa, and it's in the capital city of Swaziland. So that's where I've been for the last 2 years. And to say the least, it was a growing experience because for the first time I was in a new country all by myself. I was meeting like new people different from me. Of course, some were the same as me, were similar to me, but I got to explore what makes us similar and what makes us different, especially in the international perspective.
Because I would believe, being in Swaziland, being in Swaziland, you're apart from your family. How did you really cope? Being in a new country, new experience, new everything, you don't know anyone there. How was life like?
I wouldn't say that it was hard to cope because over time in my life, I've had to cope in situations where I felt a bit out of place. So for example, when I was going to secondary, I had spent 5 years in primary instead of 7. So when I went to secondary, I was on average 2 years younger than everyone else I found. And so this was like me being socially out of place. And so I kept telling myself that if I could survive in a place where I was constantly out of place, then I can survive in a different country altogether.
Yeah, you spoke of studying primary for 5 years. So what happened? You mean you did B when you were in P5?
No, not exactly. So what happened, I did P1 and P2 in the same year. I did P1 for 1 term and P2 for the other 2 terms. Yes. Then when I reached P6, I did PLE.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm glad that I got a grade 4.
I was going to be like, so how are the results? Yeah, interesting. So take us through your school life. Which primary schools and secondary and everything?
Primary school, I went to City Parents. I don't know if you have some Kabaka and Jagala.
Yes.
In secondary school, I got into Inter School where I spent about 4.5 years.
Yes.
I did O-level from there. Yes. Got 9 in 8 and went back shortly for 1 term of A-level. And that's when I got the international scholarship. The
opportunity, meaning you should have done Form 6 this year, next year?
I would have done Form 6 last year.
Oh.
Yeah.
Meaning
finished.
Oh, yeah. Meaning you would have been in first year, if you were in Uganda.
I would have been in first year if I had stayed in Uganda. Yes. I would like to see it as a good sacrifice I made for the result, for what it's worth.
Yes. Yeah, so you talked of, you said if all goes well, you're planning to go back and study something else.
Yes.
Highlight us.
Actually, all has already gone well. Yes. So far I have, because I finished the course in Swaziland, I'm now going to university in the US. I've got 4 scholarships from different universities.
4 universities wanted you?
Yes.
Wow.
And they're offering me, scholarships to go there. There's Oklahoma University it's in Oklahoma, it's near Texas. Yes. There is Trinity College in Connecticut. Americans call it Connecticut. There is Duke University around North Carolina, and then there is Northwestern University near Chicago. Yes. So those last 2 are ranked among the top 20 universities in the world.
Meaning right now the ball is in your hands. You get to choose who you want to go to, since they all want you.
Yes.
I'm thrilled about the accent. How did it change for the 2 years you were there? You still sound normal.
Yeah. Actually, I'm actually also very happy that I'm still able to speak like this. It was a conscious decision I had to make. When I went to Swaziland, my biggest struggle, like in terms of my language, was people not being able to hear what I'm saying.
Yes.
No one there is Ugandan, and even the Ugandans that were there were like maybe half Ugandan or lived in a different country or don't speak, this accent. So most of the time people were saying pardon, things like that.
So you would find yourself in scenarios where you have to like repeat a sentence,
Yes.
a statement more than 2 times.
More than 2 times, definitely. But what happened, like
Yes.
after at first I thought changing my accent, and I changed my accent for the first term of 2019.
You're practicing
Yeah.
that accent, or you are faking it till you make it?
I wasn't faking it. I was trying to like adjust my own accent, like to make it so that at least they wouldn't have to say pardon so much.
Yeah.
But that's, eventually I made a conscious decision to revert back, and why should it be my struggle to try to be understood by
To
them?
be like them.
Yes, when I could have it the other way around. Let them be the ones to understand me, because I also have something to offer.
Interesting. I love that perspective, because most times people feel like we should change to be like them. How about you be you? With time, they'll pick your vibe or not. Yeah. So your book, another way to look at it, quite a title. What's the story behind what inspired it? And
the story behind the book itself, like me writing the book, is because mostly because I was writing journals already, like my life through internet. I told you I was like a bit of a social misfit in internet, so I didn't have like a lot of times in me. I'm going to parties,
to play ball,
jazzing with friends, things like that.
Yeah.
So most times I would be like the guy in a group that happens to be a bit outside, that can only sit and observe, what goes on. I wasn't very, very engaged with the people, and what I did in that time, sit and observe and write my observations. And that's how I started writing my journals. I'd write like stories from things I've learned, from things I've seen, and my friends landed. A few of my friends landed on the journals and were really inspired by them. There's even one who wanted to keep it for himself, and they kept telling me, publish the book. So I decided eventually, of course, following the journals and following my friends to get it published. Yes. I had actually written it like 3 years ago, because I was still in Paris.
That was around your senior 3.
No, that's around senior 4. Yeah. Later senior 5. And but then I didn't publish it then, because when I got the scholarship, I decided not to like chase 2 birds at the same time.
Yes.
You risk getting neither. I decided to first get this international education out of the way, and then when I come back is when I can fully immerse myself into the publishing process.
Yeah. So you mean to say you finalized the whole book thing while you were abroad? Or you worked with a local publication company?
I finished before I went abroad, and then I had the manuscript there for like 2 years. And then when I came back is when I worked with a local publishing company, the same company that published my parents' books, my mother's book and my father's 2 books.
So your parents are also authors?
Yes.
Because I was going to ask you, like I usually ask people in whichever line they're in when I'm doing interviews, whether if it's music, whether they come from a musical family. Now that you've mentioned it, so I like to picture a childhood. Did you grow up as the kid who has read to a lot of stories, or you're always savvy with reading the news headlines? How was it for you growing up in a book environment?
You see, first of all, I wouldn't call it a book environment. Yes, my parents have written books. My mom wrote a book about, it's called No Mountain Too High. It's about like a life testimony about how she healed from diabetes and obesity without any form of medication. And then my dad released books on money mistakes, like money mistakes to avoid, business mistakes. It gives really good financial insights. Now, I wouldn't say that because they wrote these 2 books, I wouldn't say that now they are authors. They are just maybe people who happen to have written this 1 or 2 books. So I didn't grow up in a book environment, if that's what you're asking. Yes. What I can say for myself, like what about my environment led me to writing my book is I wouldn't call myself an author either. I just happen to have written this 1 book. So I'm a thinker, and all these things I do are just ways to communicate the products of my thoughts. For example, this book I've written, I've also like given a bunch of speeches like a TED Talk, and I'm a motivational speaker. I was a debater when I was in Ontario, and even when I went to Swaziland. And all these things, they're just like, as I also am involved in math, which is
normal
actually-
math of counting 1 to 3.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. I was, I think 2017, I won the national, I was the national champion of the math contest in Uganda.
Okay.
Yeah, so like you see, that's a diverse.
It's all,
set of-
yes,
yeah.
yes.
So it's just it's more of I'm a thinker, and then I have all these different ways in which I can express the product of my thought.
Because just like they say, there's a difference between an artist and a musician, Now, would you say there's a difference between an author and a person who really... Okay, actually, what defines an author? Must you have a lot of books to your name? Must you be like accredited somewhere? What defines an author?
I think what defines an author, but in fact in my book, at the beginning of the book, I was saying that everyone has the potential to be an author. Everyone has to. I call them writers because authors, you'd imply you have all these works, but everyone has the potential to be a writer because like all you need to write is your mind, get ideas, put
Express.
them down, yeah, compile something.
Yes.
And so my book was a way of saying, of being an example of that let me put my ideas now. I don't have to be this accomplished person to become an author, I don't have to be whatever. And as in a way embodying this notion that every day you live is writing your life.
Yes.
In the process encouraging others to. So to be an author, to answer your question, all you need is your mind. Mind and willingness to put down ideas.
It's another way to get around it, to look at it.
Yes.
I like to pick you on the title. Because, most times, even if it's I'm sorry I use examples of artists, it's just that I'm exposed to so much music, and that's what I literally do all day, every day. There's always the inspiration behind a title. For example, someone will be like, why did you call your album X? Why do you call your album 25? Why do you call your album 10? So, why did you title your book Another Way to Look Around It?
Another way to look at it.
Yes, look at it, sorry.
I would... The title was actually kind of an amalgamation because my content, first of all, was multi-thematic. It tackled so many things. The process of devising the title, it's hard to find one thing that would cut across anything. My book talks about business, attitude, planning, education, character, marriage, parenting, all these, and they're different. And so it's hard to get this one title that, this book is this, because
that can touch each and everything.
Exactly.
Since it's really diverse, and it's not just, for example, if it's maybe a book about cooking, you're not going to call it you would call it Victor's Cookery or anything. But now this is cooking with tourism, with business, with social life, with finance, with everything.
Yes, definitely. So how that title now came is that at least, even though there are many things, there's a perspective that, through which I'm looking at each of them. Yes. And so I called it Another Way to Look at It, and then I did not say what it is, because it could be anything. It could be many things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Since we're in a digital era, did you consider uploading the books to Apple Books, Amazon, Kobo
publishing?
Yes.
And I considered it. I still am considering it, and I really hope to get it online. Not just because we're in a digital era, but also because I'm in an international atmosphere. Having been to Swaziland, almost like half my market is my previous colleagues and teachers, and they're from all over the world, and I can't get one thing from Uganda to everyone at the same time unless I put it online. So I'm still currently looking for ways to put it online.
Super proud of you. So I will share with you one who can really assist you with everything, as long as you have your artwork digitized.
Definitely.
Yeah, do you have a copy of the book?
I have one on me right now.
I think I'm the lucky one.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
It's also not there.
It's currently.
Someone is being reading it.
Yeah.
It's not Vic Hospital.
No, at office, the Winton Road.
Oh, the Winton Road.
Yeah.
We talked of speaking on a TED Talk stage. My God, those things I just watch them on YouTube. And few Ghanaians have really been there. I think I can only think of Ethan Mussolini. I don't know the rest. Like maybe you're the second. That stage, it's the ultimate stage for people in the industry to do with speaking. And so, how did it feel being up there? And
It actually, I gave this TED talk during Corona. So the school has at Waterford has this platform for TED talk. They call it TEDx, and it's like an independently organized TED event that they hold once every 2 years. I applied for it and got to give my speech. My biggest conviction, how it feels, I guess you'd say it's scary. It can be scary, especially when you're not used to speaking. But my biggest conviction comes from having ideas that I want to share. And when I want to share an idea, my fear of public speaking, which I also feel, even though I'm a public speaker, my fear won't get in the way of
the message that you want to put out there.
Yes, as long as I have a message, it will get out. So I'm glad that I put out my message. I talked about this thing called The Other Side. It's also, I think it's in a way related to the book.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's kind of like there's always another side of things. There's always, and I was talking about the negative side in particular, the side that puts you down and you don't want to. It makes you hate life overall. But like there's a way to manipulate the other side to let it work for you.
That to channel that negative energy or whatever downside you're in to turn it the other way around for you.
Exactly. It's similar to how I channeled my fear of public speaking into this TED talk.
Nice. Writer's block is something which is very common in the world of writers. But of course now, maybe this would be a different scenario since it's a book and it's a journal of the thoughts you've gathered over the years. But don't you sometimes get it whereby you feel like you really have to write, but you're lazy or you're not motivated, but you feel like you want to put something on paper or type something?
I would say that, first of all, I've never experienced writer's block. I would say writer's block is only for people for whom writing is the priority. That's why I didn't call myself an author or a writer. Someone who calls themselves a writer will say, what I want to do is write. The ideas can come later, but the first priority is being able to write something. Now, for me, I have it the other way around. I have a bunch of ideas, and what I want is ideas. The writing comes as as a by the way. So by the time I end up writing,
or a format of expression, because sometimes you use speech, like you told me.
Yes, exactly. So a format of expression. So by the time I'm writing something, I definitely have the ideas that I really wanted to express in that writing. That's why I don't experience.
Yes. So your kid siblings, is any of them into writing as well, or Blemali Bibia?
I actually only have one kid sibling. I have, I'm the fifth born in a family of 6 boys.
Yes.
The top 3 are married. The 4th is in 2nd year, I think getting to 3rd year, statistics in Makerere.
Then you, then the little?
Yeah, the little one just joined military school last year. Yes, so.
Does he look like he's in a direction of books, or he's a guy who is into innovations?
He's more into science, like he's very sciencey and a bit philosophical. I would like to hope he got a bit of that from me because I'm also very scientifically inclined. But I don't see him like being an author. Because people can always
because sometimes just like you see, there's a common notion whereby the boys want to be like their fathers, and now the boys want to be like their big brothers. So basically, as long as they have someone for a male figure, they always want to emulate them. That's why I asked that question. Because I remember there was a time, those days, I've always loved media anyway. So my kid brother's like, I think when I grow up, I think I should also maybe work on TV or radio.
Yeah.
Meaning they get from what we do. And I think it stems from them saying that what we do it with love and we make it look easy. Because I remember when I was in P7, I was like, I think I should be a businessman, man. Dad is really doing good. But I guess as you grow,
eventually,
you get to...
I have this rule for what defines people's paths as they grow. 3 words: good, love, and want. So whatever you eventually become successful in and something worth emulating is if 1, you're good at it,
yes.
2, you love it, and 3, you want to continue pursuing it. If any of those is missing, then it can be a bit of a struggle. Doing something you love but you're not good at, doing something you're good at but you don't want.
With this book, who do you wish to target?
I wish to target honestly, I want to find a way to say this without saying all age groups, because that would be too broad. But I genuinely wish to target all age groups, maybe starting from like teens upwards to retirement age, because I know that there is something for everyone. This book is more of, I want it to be an inspiration to the young,
Yes,
and
yes.
at the same time a challenge to the old, because this is me saying I don't have to have all this experience, 50 years old, to be able to publish a book now. A 50-year-old will read that and say, wow, this guy also has ideas to present, and age is not stopping him from doing that. Same will apply to the young one, that now they'll want to also do things. I'm encouraging many people to write, many people to at least take the time to have the products of their mind expand and flourish.
You said you answered the better. What when we like refer to date back to the day, what do you think was the funniest motion you guys ever debated? Like then you are like, man, when you sit back right now,
Yeah.
like, dang, what were we thinking?
I mean, funniest goes to, because over the years, as I continued debating, that the motions kept becoming more politically.
Yes.
But back in the day when you'd have a motion, fire is better than water, you're debating that. It was in a way like, why are we debating this? But it was also one of those fun experiences that you won't get outside, because if I come to you now, if I go in the general public, say people, fire is better than water, who wants to talk to me about it? Everyone will look at me like I'm stupid, like, why is he talking about this? So it was one of the craziest motions I've ever done, but it was also a once in a lifetime. I'm glad I did.
And surprisingly, back then, it would feel so on flick, because you're like, man, you assure them.
Yeah, definitely.
So, when Victor is not writing, what are you doing?
I'm doing many things. Currently, of course, I'm doing the logistics of university, trying to get my documents set to go to university. But more generally speaking, when I'm not writing, I'm doing scientific things or speaking. I like to do math. I like to do physics. So usually I have these friends I talk to, some inside, some outside the country, for whom I know I can entrust with my ideas in terms of science. So I don't want to go to someone with scientific ideas and they'll say, this is just a science guy doing his science things. I want someone to actually discuss with when I have ideas. Yeah, so when I'm not writing, I'm doing scientific and mathematical things.
No ball, no TV, no.
You mean in terms of pastime?
Yeah, no more.
Pastime, I watch series like No Man's Business. I'm a big fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Okay.
And I'm also a big fan of sitcoms. These major sitcoms: Modern Family, The Office, The Big Bang Theory, How I Met Your Mother. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, I'm not so much of a watcher, because I usually sleep off. However much it's interesting. Yeah, I'm a music guy. So when it comes to music, who do you listen to besides Drake? Because everyone listens to Drake.
But you see, I like to have another way to look at it.
Okay.
I don't listen to Drake, unfortunately. Maybe eventually over time, if he becomes, if he appeals to me, I'll start listening to him.
Yes.
But I listen to sort of the underdogs.
Yes.
The ones I recently started listening to, hardcore, or one called NF, he's a rapper.
Yeah.
And one called Hobson, Marcus Hobson. Black American rapper. He's lower than NF in terms of he's underrated. Yeah, I would say. But they're definitely they are my best currently that I listen to, because they have, they are one of the few that actually bring rap with a message. These days, rappers talk about
money, women, cars,
cars. So it's the rap game was becoming a bit old fashioned, but these people bring back the real message. They have a message to convey and they convey it.
Interesting. Could you advise anyone to maybe ever venture into writing, or you would say it's kind of complex? They should someone who wishes to become a writer. What are the 4 or 3 or 2 quick bits you can give them to breaking through, or or finally conquering the fear of expressing themselves. Because most times people have a message to put out, but then like, how will the public perceive it? Will they welcome it? What if they reject my work? It's like rejecting me. Yeah. So what are those 2-3 bits of advice you would really give to someone?
You know, interestingly, when I was writing my book, I didn't write it for the public. I wrote it for myself. I was going to Swaziland, and I knew Swaziland is a new place, and I might reach there and get lost and not know who I am. So I decided to write the ideas that embody who I am, the ideas and experiences that define who I am. So that when I go to Swaziland and I'm feeling lost and introspective, I can go back to my book, open a few pages, and get advice from my younger self. So I think first of all, don't write for the public. Don't base your life off your anticipation of other people's perception.
Of their reception.
Yeah, of how they receive you. Because there's always going to be backlash for anything. There's always going to be a section of the public that doesn't like you in some way, you see. And so if you're always basing yourself on that, then you'll never get anything done. So personally, I'm my book's biggest fan. And so even if no one wants to buy it, I'll be happy because I'll know that I have a book that they're doing. Yes. The second thing would be commitment. Once you have decided now that I'm not writing for others, I'm writing this for me, then be committed to it, because there are many people that start things and just leave them there hanging, and they're like half-thoughts, half-baked ideas, and they never turn out well. So once you now decide to start writing, be committed to it. Make sure if your aim is publishing, then make sure that you don't stop until the thing gets published. I have a bunch of friends who, now that I published my book, tell me that, oh, by the way, I have a manuscript. It's there, it's been lying there for 5 years, so be committed.
Yeah. Swaziland is quite a country, and so by the look of things, you've almost traveled it all, but deep inside you, do you have a dream destination, or like that one place you really want to visit? And like, for me, it would be France or Italy. What is it for you?
For me, I would say America, but I'm already going there, because my one thing that I've always wanted to see is snow. What is snow?
To experience,
this is snow.
Being tucked in.
Of course, it's going to feel cold. I would expect it feels cold. But when I was young, I'd always put my head in the freezer just to know what winter was like, what snow is like, and I would get these ice cubes and crush them and throw them into the grass, just to get a feel of snow. Yeah. So I just want any place I go to that
can give you snow.
Yeah, at least for the experience of it. That would be my dream place.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, I think. So where can people find your book? Those who wish to purchase.
So right now I have it on the winter note, but I'm planning to put it in the bookshop soon, in 1 week, to have it in Uganda bookshop, and hopefully a restock.
How much will a copy go for?
Copy will go for 30,000 shillings.
30,000.
Yes.
That's fair.
I mean, you can feel free to pay more than that.
Yeah. The final one. I know that had to be the final, but the final one. What's your wildest childhood memory?
Wildest childhood memory. I fell from a tank. It was 2 floors above. I was about 5 years old, and then I got this huge.
Come on.
That became my nickname for the next 3 years after that, because that swelling stayed for the next 3 years. It was huge. It was just in the center of my forehead. Everyone I went to called me Kamonde, called me Lumonde, what, things like that. But I'm what makes it a wild memory is that everyone thought it must have been painful. I fall from that high, and I sat down and my head bounced off the ground.
So let me get this clear. You had climbed up a tank
to the top of the tank.
So but upon falling you fell, and it's the head that landed first.
No, it's not the head that landed first. I fell and my bums landed first, and then my head went with the momentum.
Yes.
And everyone thought it was this really heavy thing, must have been painful. But whenever I look back to it, no, my head just hit the ground and got this swelling that happened to stay for years, but I didn't really feel as much pain as people put it to be.
Okay, so it was, the swelling was bigger, but the pain wasn't as much as everyone had envisioned or was perceiving it to really be.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah. So good to have you back. Congratulations on your book. It takes a lot of courage to put yourself out there.
Thank you.
And I wish you the very best. It's been nice talking to you.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.